Are you a kingdom-minded entrepreneur looking to start a business inside the trades? Or maybe you're a Christian business owner looking to scale your business. If so, I'm creating a one-stop shop for creating jobs, making disciples, and serving the city inside the trades. Each weekday, Monday through Friday from 3:16, we're going to start interviewing different business owners in different trades and learn how they create jobs, make disciples, and serve the city. And if you'd like to join me on a seminar on how to start and scale a business inside the trades, I'd like you to visit the asyougo.network today and sign up. And also, I'm looking for some business owners that are actually using their business to fulfill the Great Commission. And I don't care what trades it is. If you'd be interested, one second, Jira, if you'd be interested in being on the show, I'd love to interview you and share your story with others today. Now, let's get into today's show. Sid, what's up, my friend?
Good afternoon. Really good to see you.
Hey, it's better to see you. Where are you at? Let everyone know.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier, I'm in Sacramento, California today. I'm from Montana, but I happen to be out here for a long weekend. And I'm sitting in front of the Stanford Mansion. It's a really incredibly beautiful. Can I show it?
Oh, please.
Let me turn the camera around. I'm getting ready to go on a tour here in just a few minutes, but take a look at this. Has been restored to its Victorian elegance. It was built in the late 1800s, 1880, maybe 1890. But what a stunning piece of craftsmanship. And we were chatting just a little bit before we started, Joshua. Leland Stanford, he started out as basically a dirt farmer. He started out working the land and ended up becoming like the head of something Northern Pacific Railroad. I think he was governor of California, but he worked his way into a position of authority and power and was able to bless the people. It was actually their son or their son's wife, one of their offspring children, donated the entire mansion to be an orphanage during the time of great need after the First World War. It's pretty phenomenal. So yeah, it's great legacy. I can't wait to go on the tour.
Yeah, it's a great example of someone that had assets that actually used them to do good for. And that's one of the reasons that we're even talking today. And so, Sid, I want to start off by would you mind letting everyone know about how long you've been in the business, the name of your company and where it's located?
Sure. So I'm in Western Montana, in Missoula. I've got a window cleaning company called Spectrum Window Cleaning. The company is 23 years old. I've been window cleaning about 10 years longer than that. I started in 1993 in Florida with just a guy in a bucket and in the ugliest car on the face of the earth. It was the rust bucket, and it ran well, but it was ugly as sin. And I worked out of the trunk of a beater for a couple of years, so I was able to get a van. Anyway, we've been at it for a minute.
Love the story. And let me ask you this: when you were in, kindergarten, let's say you were playing in the sandbox, were you cleaning things with a water gun and making the playground look great, saying one day I'm going to be the best window washer in the world?
One day, I will tell you, literally. We grew up incredibly modest. Poor would be a good word to describe it. And we lived in what I thought was a fine house. It was 2 bedrooms. It turns out it was a shack. I didn't know that as a kid. And my favorite toy or area, there was a dirt patch off the back porch steps. It was just outside the kitchen window, so my mom could keep an eye on me. And it was between the porch steps and the cellar door, just West Texas dirt. And I had a spoon, and I had rocks and sticks. And I used to build cities in this thing, and I would just play in the dirt all day long. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I didn't know that you needed toys at age 5.
Oh, that's so good. We do a thing called the Family Summit. I got it from a guy named Jeremy Pryor, who's written some books. And once a month, we invite family and friends and neighbors over for a meal, and we play these get to know you games. And one of our neighbors lost his wife, and his name's Jim. And he pulled out of the hat the question, what was your favorite candy growing up? He's 84. He's like, well, we didn't have candy. I was growing up. And your story almost sounds like one of those stories where, dirt, rocks, sticks, that's what you play with. So let me ask you this. Before you ended up starting the pressure washing window cleaning business, what was the thought that led you there. And so how did you go from where you were to, you know what, I think I'm going to grab a mop, start washing windows? How did you start the business, and what was the thought that launched you into it?
Yeah. At the time, my wife and I, we had just returned from a year in Europe where we were literally homeless half the time we were there. Traveled with, we left the States with a one-way ticket, a backpack, $300, which apparently, doesn't last very long when you're doing anything. And so we struggled quite a bit, but we had a great time. We come back to the United States. We get settled in Florida, and I had teamed up with there's a non-denominational sort of Christian ministry, and that's where we were getting our footing. And I was unlearning a lot of uh, denominational Christian teachings and just studying the Bible, which is really fascinating. And I had a job, which was I don't remember. I was selling. I think it was selling vacuum cleaners, doing something. And the manager got really angry with me for not closing a deal with a 94-year-old woman over a vacuum, a $2,000 vacuum cleaner. And I got in an argument, and no punches were thrown. I was arguing with the lady, but I was furious that they would take advantage of senior citizens. So I stormed out. Now positioned with beautiful wife. I think she was expecting our first child at the time. We had no money, and I was like, I have to make rent, and I've got 2 weeks to do it. And I had a next door neighbor who cleaned windows, and I just thought he was doing a phenomenal job financially, and he had the world by the tail, as far as I can tell. And I asked him if I could go with him for a day, and he's like, sure, come on. He showed me around. I watched him clean windows. He gave me a few bucks at the end of the day, and I thought, this will get me by. Like, I'll make rent, and then I'll figure out what to do. And I found out quickly that the service involved in, providing a service, making something better, really blessed the people that were paying me to do so. And I enjoyed that so much, so much. That's how I got started.
Wow. So that's so interesting. How many years ago did you say? 20 plus?
Mhm. I started in 1993, so that'd be 32 years ago.
Wow.
And the industry jargon, bucket Bob, whatever. That was me for like 15 years. I was just a guy with a van, sometimes a helper in bucket, just hustle. Because I get back to my roots and playing in the dirt. I grew up on a farm and ranch, and you just work. And your work ethic was really built in. And that's a good thing. It also became a bottleneck for me because we were taught to value like how many hours you worked, how hard can you work, that was the measure of a man, which is it's a way to measure a man, but it also will hold you back if you think everything depends on it's your value is how hard you work.
Well, let's play a game then. Let's pretend that you have a 16-year-old son, and he's like, Dad, I think I'm going to open up a window cleaning business. And you're like, okay, son, I believe in you. I'm going to give you $5,000 and the game plan on how to grow, start, and scale your business. Walk me through what you're going to coach him to do with that $5,000, where he can end up turning that window cleaning business into a lucrative business that can provide for his family and others.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Let's start with some fundamental beliefs, like understand that you get paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. You don't get paid by the hour or any other metric. It's what's the value you bring to the marketplace. That's how you get rewarded. So the more value you can bring, the more you're going to be rewarded. Then I would help them understand the financial backing and background of the business. Like, what are your costs of goods? What is your margin? How much can you charge? And start with that rather than just a hustle of going, I made $300 today. Like, maybe you got a check for 300 or a card payment. Doesn't mean you made 300. What did it cost to get that job, to complete the job? What would you have left if you were actually paying someone else to do the work? How do you scale yourself out of being labor? And just teach them the division of labor and understand this is how a business works. And it's not an emotional thing. You need to have a goal. You need to have a purpose. And you need to understand your money. And then you need, the marketing, sales, production, administration. So now get to the $5,000. Like, assume that the business is set up properly. It's actually registered, licensed, insured. You're doing it right. And go, I need customers first. I don't need a $50,000 rig. I don't need, like, all of that stuff you can find. But if I spend a little bit of money and a lot of creativity on marketing in the beginning, you're going to get a lot further. And when I say and creativity, it's really not even creativity as much as teach my son to start by defining what he wants his business to represent and use that as a differentiator. An example could be you could stake your claim on saying we are always on time. If we are not on time for an appointment, we'll do the work, but you don't pay. That's a strong positioning, and people would hire you just for that. Where you could start by saying we're going to be the low cost leader, or you could start by saying we're only going to provide white glove service, or you could start by saying our mission in this work is to be a contributing part of our community, and we support the children's shelter and the animal shelter in the public library. Pick a thing, but give what you're doing purpose more than or beyond just making a dollar. So then it's got greater meaning and purpose, especially when you begin to expand, because if we're building a business here, not a job. We want to expand. We want to hire people. We want to pay them well, but we want to give them a mission and a purpose that they can pursue so they can have not just a paycheck, but also fulfillment, because that will help build a culture that will keep people for a long time. And then it will grow. They will grow with you. So honestly, it's about a lot more than the money.
Yeah, let me point this out, or at least set you up to point this out. So many people are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they're trying to learn how to start and scale a business in the trades. And why didn't you give the advice of, hey, buy this equipment, purchase these type of leads or marketing? How come you started with mindset?
Because it's a classic example or lead off from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is begin with the end in mind. So dream it and define it as big as you can. Like, what do you want this to be? Who do you want to serve? Who do you want to be served by it? And start there. And then just reverse engineer it. Because here's what you find. Like, you and I live in a world where a lot of people are concerned with being the best technician, having the best equipment, doing all that stuff. And that's great. Like, you want to pursue quality and excellence no matter what you're doing. But if you're building it as a business and you want to build a business, understand that people who can drive a squeegee or handle a power washer or clear a drain or whatever your trade is, there are people that already have that skill. Like, I don't have to be the best at that. I need to hire people that fit our company culture, that are already good at it, and then help them become better. Like, I want to help them be their best within the framework. It doesn't mean I have to be the guy doing the squeegee work. Same thing with the marketing. Like, the marketing and message, really interesting. Donald Miller, who was a keynote at the huge convention a year ago, was phenomenal about helping you paint a picture, like pick your mission and tell the story around it. And oftentimes, it's like, if you have a unique story, it attracts people so rapidly that you don't need a ton of marketing. A lot of people in that marketing, separate marketing, advertising, a lot of people think of it, you're doing it on Facebook, you're doing it on lawn signs, whatever. They're just like, whoever yells loudest. We're the best. We're the best. That's not necessarily helpful in the marketplace. I mean, you do need to promote, but you need to have a message worth promoting, other than just shouting, we're the best. Because everybody says that. We're the best.
Hey, over the course of 32 years, how many days, or were there ever days that you thought about quitting?
Yeah, so many days.
And
many days. Yeah.
The tools don't get you through that.
No.
You're right. And so the mindset does, the purpose does. And that's what you're getting at. There's nobody that I know that has started a business that in the first 2 or 3 years, they start questioning whether or not God is even cursing them.
Yeah. There's that.
Yeah, and it's not a curse. It's welcome to starting a business. You know, God is not against you. You have to figure out how to do certain things right in order to start and scale a business. So let me ask you this. When you look back on your 30 plus years, what is the worst day that you've ever experienced inside the window cleaning, pressure washing business?
Gosh, so sometimes when we're having dinner with some other peers, we'll ask that, like, what was the worst thing that happened at work? And this is going to sound Pollyanna, but the worst day was like three people didn't show up and I had to work 16 hours. There was never, we burned somebody's house down, or, the governor canceled us, or like, we just haven't had terrible things happen. We could have had terrible things happen. Like the day I was working on a Disney project in my youth and enthusiasm and foolishness, there was an 80-foot pinnacle above this red tile roof that was a tower of glass that no one goes into. It was not accessible. It was just for distance and looks. And I was hired to do the construction cleanup. And I went up to that thing and walked on an 18-foot ledge with zero safety harness around this thing because I have to get it done. I have to get it done. I didn't have the courage or wisdom to tell the contractor, this can't be accessed and we will not do it because you can't do it safely. And I did it anyway, thankfully. And I do have survivor's bias. Like I didn't die. I didn't fall to my death. I could have fallen and left, a widow and two very young children because I was so committed to getting the job finished. The wise thing would have been said no. So I've circumvented a lot of the really worst days that could have been there. That's not a crazy answer, but it's true.
Well, let's go through a checklist just so people can hear what it's like to be a business owner. Have you ever been cussed out?
Yeah.
Come on.
By a contractor.
For sure. Have you ever had a team member or a marketing company take advantage of you or take something that didn't belong to them or not fulfill something they said they would do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's an easy question because you always have, like, I was in the middle of a job on the edge of town, great customer, big house, working with the guy. And he comes down off the ladder, throws his tools on the ground and starts walking away. And then I finish what I'm doing. I go out, I'm like, Aaron, I can't find him. And he's walking down the road. I drive and catch him. I go, what's up? And he just shouts at me. He says, I'll never be talked to that way. Nobody talks to me that way. And I'm in my head, I'm going, no one was talking to you. Like there was no, I don't know what he was talking about. He just clicked, stormed off, and he threatened to, cause problems. He didn't, but he's just like, geez, this is weird.
Yeah, there's a long checklist of things that are normal once you start owning a business or running a business, and you're like, yeah, it's not that bad once you've gone through it a few times. What's the hard, cold truth that you would tell yourself if you had to go back before you started this business that you needed to know?
Look, okay, this can be whatever you want it to be. Build your dream, not someone else's. A lot of people say that within the context of being an employee, but and we see it at industry events and talking to others. Like, some people are walking around. It's like, if you're a business in 10 million, you're nothing. If it's not a million, you're not, whatever. Like, build your own dream. If you want to work solo and work quietly and enjoy yourself and manage your money, great. If you want to build big and employ hundreds and hundreds of people, great. But decide what you want and build it the way you want it and build it with your rules. Because it really is like, it's like a box of Legos. I mean, you can build what's on the box, or you can build anything you want. You make the rules.
Sid, have you built the business that you want?
I would say two-part answer. One, I built a business that is beyond the wildest dreams I had when I started. Far beyond. I could never imagine how good it could be, this. But that also gives me a perspective where I look ahead and I go, I'm not even close to where I want to be. But I appreciate how far we've come. Could I share a story? This is this is the truest story of when Denise and I first started, and it folds in some biblical principles that I'd love to share and weave into the foundations of building a business. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So when Denise and I got back from Europe, we were we were destitute. We had $42, and we were living in. My sister and her husband were kind of ranchers and horse people, and they were kind enough to clear out half of the tack room where all the saddles and bridles and blankets were, where everything smelled like a horse, and put a bed in there for my wife and I. And the the environment was terrible. It was like, I love my sister, but at the time it was really toxic. It was harmful. And so Denise and I were like, we've got to get out of this place and into our own spot as fast as humanly possible. There's only a couple of challenges. We're new in the area. We don't have a car. I don't have a job, and we have $42. So it seems to be a stumbling block. So we were talking about that, and we had just seen God open really big doors and move mountains for us as we came home from Europe. And she had more grounding in like actual Bible and believing than I did. And she said, look, do you think if you prayed for $1 to God, would that be any different than if you prayed for $100? I'm like, no. He said, what about $1 million? I'm like, yeah. She's like, why? She's like, it's no different to God. If God's infinite and all powerful, $1, $1 million, $1 billion, it's the same for God. So what she helped me do, she said, let's decide what we want and thank God for it and let him deliver. Because I had literally said to her, it's like, we got to move out. I don't care if we live in a place with dirt floor. We have to get out from under this roof. And she's like, let's just make a list of the stuff that we would really like to have in a home. And let's thank God for it. And let's go find it. It's like, okay, you say so? Like, I think it's dumb, but we can do this. So we start making lists, and we go, well, I love to have a place with hardwood floors. I'm like, okay, hardwood floors, lots of windows. And we started making this list. And like, and then we get to, we've defined the place. Well, it's got to be cheap because we don't have any money. And can't let us put down a deposit because, well, we don't have any money. They certainly can't check our background or bank account because we don't have a job. And we don't have any furniture, so it needs to be furnished. We had this list, and we looked at it. It's like, I'm like, Denise, this is insane. Like, there's no way this can happen. She's like, let's just thank God for it and get to work. Okay, so we prayed, all the stuff on the list, and this was like on a Thursday. Saturday, I borrowed a car, and we go looking for places. We get the newspaper at the time, and we're looking, here's all the listings. We look at every single apartment structure, whatever that seemed to be within our range. And every single one of them, when we go to, like, oh, this is kind of cute. This might be the one. And we look in, or we go in, and it had these gross brown carpets. We called it doo-doo brown rental apartment carpets. And they were horrible. We looked at everything, like every single one in the town. Checked them off. Nothing. I was willing to settle. My wife said, we're going to stick to our guns. We have to agree. And I'm like, okay, we'll agree. I said, well, that's it. We'll look again next weekend. So we make a U-turn or make a block. We're driving down side street, and she goes, stop the car. I'm like, what? She look over there. There's a sign in that window that says for rent. It was just this little duplex. It was not in the paper. It was a sign in the window that said for rent. I'm like, all right, well, let's go. Let's take a look in the window. So we just ran up and looked, and it had gross brown carpet. And we're like, that was it. Start walking back to the car, and a lady opened the door on the other half of the duplex and comes right out and says, hey, y'all, West Texas. Y'all want to look at the apartment? And we said, yeah, we do. Her name was Christy. It's like, well, sure. And she shows us through, and man, it was cute. A little one bedroom, lots of windows. And I'm like, how much is it? She's like, $250 a month. I was like, that was cheap then. This was 30 years ago. And I was like, okay. And we talked a little bit more, and I said, well, and she's like, well, what do you think about it? I said, it's really great, but man, we really love hardwood floors. And she goes, well, I wonder what's under this here carpet. Literally walks to the corner of the room and grabs hold of the carpet and yanks back, tears the carpet, and there's hardwood floors underneath. She said, y'all can take these old carpets out if you want to. I'll help. I was like, okay, well, let's talk. And I'll shorten the story. What ended up happening is we discussed everything with her. We went next door, looked at it, and she had a lease. It required $100 deposit. And I said, that's really cool, but like, we don't have $100. She said, well, how much could you do? And I said, I could give you 10. And she goes, okay. And this was, I want to say it was mid-October. And she said, why don't I just give you the key now? and you can go ahead and have access. You can move in when you're ready. You can fix it up. You can paint, but we won't charge rent until November 1st. I said, okay. And everything that was on the list started checking off. And then Denise cracked a joke about, well, this is the perfect place. All we need to do now is find furniture. And the lady looked at us and went, y'all don't have any furniture? No. And she said, come with me. Walks out back to a garage, opens the door, and it's filled with antiques. She said, you can use anything you want. By the time we were done, I'm not joking, every single item on the list that we made that was the most impossible list, check, check. Hardwood floors, lots of windows, low deposit, no deposit, cheap rent, everything. Oh, and also, let me throw into the mix. It's like, well, do you have a lease? She said, yeah, 6 months. And I said, well, we're working hard to save our money to move as soon as we can to Florida. And she said, well, just do month to month then. Like every single thing blew our mind. It was so complete that I was left speechless. And about a month later, I had a stepbrother who lived in town. He came over to see us. Of course, we get this place. It's really pretty. It's furnished with all these beautiful antiques and stuff. And I told him the story, and he looked at me like I had just pulled a gun on him, like in complete shock and horror. He's like, I don't understand. And I said, honestly, I said, it's hard to understand. I said, but we got really clear of what we wanted and recognized that God will honor it. We just thank God for it with believing. It's like the believing of a child. It's like, I didn't put any conditions on it. I didn't say, how's this going to happen? I just said, okay. Like my wife, I'll be very frank. My wife seems convinced I will go along with this. Like I've never known God like that, but she does. So I'm going to go with it and see if there's something to this thing. And I wouldn't have been more shocked if somebody had walked on water. Just the believing that delivered. So here's the thing that I've gained from that. That was 33 years ago, Josh. Is that, we make our plans. If you're believing for something, I believe that it requires a commitment of belief to allow God to deliver. You have to take action. I mean, we had to go out and start looking and turning over the rocks. Look at it. But God will deliver, and it may not be the way you thought it was going to be. But don't disregard God in the equation. Put him first, but then get to work. I hope that's helpful.
No, it's so good. You're actually ministering to me as I think about what I'm trying to do, because I have a very specific thing that I want to do, but it's almost like you have to pave the way. And while you're paving, there's no cars driving. And you're like, you have a vision, you have a belief. And I really do believe that what I'm doing is preparing the way for co-vocational, bivocational, church planting, disciple making in the trades. Like I really do see business as a form of mission.
Mm-hmm.
And I was chatting with a friend today, who's Trevor Steele. I'm not sure if you know him. He's on the West Coast. And I said, it's a lot easier to teach someone that believes in the mission of something how to do the trade of something than it is to teach somebody that has the trade of something how to believe the mission of something. Yeah. And when you share your story, you're closing out on this. What do you want people to know about? Why do you tell that story? What are you specifically wanting people to know?
The bottom line truth of that is, if I had to sum it, I'd go, the word is true. That God's word is true. It's like the biblical principles that are layered in for business are true. That God will deliver for you. It's just like Abraham and Sarah. It's like it said the one thing that was credited to Abraham was believing. It said he believed God. And in our day and time in our culture, like with moderate success that I've had, it's a lot easier to believe in your checkbook balance or your bank account than to trust in God. And oftentimes that level of success helps separate you from just trusting God, because you don't have to. You're like, I can solve a problem with some money. But going back to your question, it's like, understand and believe in the fundamental greatness of God, the goodness of God, the fact that He loves you and that He wants to deliver for you. He wants you to win more than you want you to win. And His word is true. It's so foundational and so absolute that you can count on, you can trust it.
Sid, you're an absolute pleasure. You're truly a gift, in my opinion. You're rich in story. You're witty. You're fun to be around. You're great on the stage. You're a trifecta, and I can't wait. I can't wait to have you and your wife on next when we go on the other side of the conversation for starting and scaling a business in the trades. And until next time, I'll see you in the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Joshua. It's great to see you.
Yep, great to see you.
I absolutely love hearing stories of Christian business owners and kingdom-minded entrepreneurs who start side hustles and scale them into big businesses that make a difference inside the city. If you're interested in learning more about starting or scaling, I want you inside of our community. I am looking for every who that's connected to a trade to come inside of a network, and we all work together on creating jobs, making disciples, and serving the city so we can make an impact and make an income and leave a lasting legacy. And I'll see you at the asyougo.network. Join me today.